What is good, Defenders Nation? Welcome to your favorite pre-match segment here on Defenders of the Bank. That's right. It's the night before a match, so it's time for one more sleep. You know my voice. It's the Scarf, J.R. Liebert, and here with one Christian Philly Philemon in world-famous Philemonster Studios. And we haven't had a lot of time to lick our wounds, to bandage them up, but you know what? Neither has the club that we are playing tomorrow at BMO, and it just seems to be getting a little worse for them than it does for us. Philly, there will be no snow in the forecast for this game against Real Salt Lake.
Look, the one thing that we know is Mother Nature is undefeated. You don't want to test her. The last time these two teams got together, Mother Nature was a factor, but not for the Colombians that resided in Sandy, Utah, because they certainly put a beat down on LAFC. And speaking of LAFC and beatdowns, and RSL for that matter, intriguing matchup this Wednesday. Not the matchup that we were hoping for, mainly because of the following. We're missing a couple of defenders, and they're missing a couple of offensive threats, what we're going to get into. They have that similarity, but at the same time, these are two of the top teams in the Western Conference and Major League Soccer, and they're both coming off of really bad butt kickings this past weekend.
Yeah, look, the whole hullabaloo today, not necessarily over the match tomorrow, but of course, our first ever third kit being released. It's got the Los Angeles Aztecs vibe to it. It's got a little bit of a San Diego Padres vibe to it. We've heard and seen all kinds of things on social media. Can't wait to see it in person tomorrow. For the record, they are going to be wearing them for the match tomorrow at BMO. That should be kind of fun to see what it looks like in person. It's cream and brown, dark brown, like chocolate brown and tan gold. I don't know. We'll have to see it in person. But Philly, I'm excited. They came out with 2 scarves, a sick jacket that, look, as much as I want the jacket, it's cream, it's white. So I don't know if I can wear it because I'm a disaster. Philly, you certainly shouldn't be buying that jacket. I don't know. What's your take on it?
I bought the jacket. Panda always yells at me for buying kits. And yes, my father gifts me with kits. I got 3 amazing kits recently for my upcoming birthday in August. So the last thing I thought would be wise to do is to buy a kit. I love the jacket. I'm all about the jackets, and I'll definitely wear the jacket. Jacket a lot cheaper than the authentic kit. And I will say, as much as I was very anti-paying the cost of a lot of the for a lot of the gear this season, the jacket I couldn't say no to. And honestly, I want to buy the kit as well. I'm going to buy the season's kit once it goes on sale. But I love the swag this time around. I am beyond excited about it. The minute we saw the leak, I was jazzed up about it. The thing that just sucks for me is I'm getting ready to go overseas in a couple of weeks for a nice 2-week vacation between England, France, and Germany. And then, of course, LAFC, what do they have to do? Throw out this amazing gear that I'm just so tempted to spend money on. But the question is, do I buy a bunch of LAFC gear and appreciate it for a couple of moments? Or do I hang on to that money and create some awesome experiences and memories in Europe? The correct answer is do all of the above, but I'm trying to behave.
Well, good luck with that, my friend. Look, it's like you said, it's going to be a very, very different matchup than we expected just a couple of days ago. Obviously, no Jesus Murillo. We thought the red card might be appealed. Evidently, I don't know that if it was or was not appealed, but either way, he is suspended due to the red card that he received at the tail end of the match. And then obviously, Sergi Palencia for his 2 yellows, which turn into a much brighter shade of red. So they will both be suspended. But you mentioned it. The biggest thing, the goal scorers from that snow game will not be on the pitch. No Chicho Arango. And from what we understand, he used some language that you couldn't use to a player on the pitch at Portland after he had been yellow carded. That is everything that my RSL sources are telling me. There's not a whole ton out there about it, but Chicho suspended 4 matches, our match, their match on the 20th, the All-Star game, and their first Leagues Cup match. So only 2 MLS matches, which may or may not affect the Golden Boot race a little bit. but suspended for the All-Star game, which again, if he said stuff he shouldn't be allowed to play, that's fine. Just a bummer for us that we're looking forward to seeing Chicho Arango in the All-Star game. And then their first Leagues Cup match. And then yellow card accumulation for Andres Gomez. Philly, these aren't just their two best offensive players. These are guys who have each contributed 20 or more goal contributions on the season. These are massive, massive players that will be missing for Real Salt Lake.
And let's not forget Justin Glad, who's going to be going to the All-Star game representing RSL, is questionable with an ankle scenario. We know Marcelo Silva, Pablo Ruiz, Kevin Bonilla won't be out on the pitch as well. But this is a very deep team, a very good team. And you mentioned they have two players that have had over 20 goal contributions. There's another one that's only 3 goals or assists shy of reaching that mark, which I believe would be a first in RSL history if the certain player hits it. More on him later. Yeah, from what I was told, and I don't want to assume anything, but let's put it this way. Scarf Popeye, the character Popeye, his arch nemesis, what was his name?
Brutus.
No.
It wasn't Brutus?
Bluto.
Oh, Bluto. Who's Brutus? So
let's just say I believe the word he used rhymes with that. That's what I was told. I don't know for a fact. But as per MLS policy, it could be a racist. It could be a homophobic. It could be some kind of chant in that regard. Now, Chicho doesn't have a history of doing these kinds of things. Obviously, we've seen him go out there and banter with Galaxy fans. That one time the Galaxy fan was talking about his mother, he said, well, if my mother's this, your mother's that too, show some respect. He's not shy to comment on social media, but that's what I might have heard that he called. Might have even been Evander, but either way, emotions were running high for RSL. They have not lost very often this season. I mean, prior to that Galaxy game where they lost, they were on what, like a 13 or 15 game unbeaten streak where they were absolutely crushing and dominating opponents. So emotions got the better of not only the team, but their star forward. I don't think it's going to keep him out of the Golden Boot race. I think he's going to have a nice, solid hold on it still. But yeah, it's unfortunate that we don't get to greet him back in BMO Stadium. I don't think there's a single player in the history of LAFC that has gone and come back on a number of occasions that would still come back to a standing applause. I think Chicho's that only player. We didn't do it for Rossi. Obviously, didn't do it for Christian Ramirez. Maybe Latif could get that, but such a beloved member of this community. The real loss is for all of us that we don't get to see him.
Well, we'll have to see what happens next year with San Diego, right? If we can get another player back and still give him that love. Anyways, Philly, this last match against Portland that Chicho Arango got suspended for, they lost 3-0. That was their first road loss in 129 days. February 21st to Inter Miami and the Fighting Messies. It was one of the longest unbeaten streaks on the road in MLS regular season history. And this is a club that just produces on the road. They have received 10 results out of 12 road matches, 4 wins, 6 draws, just 2 losses. And a team that, look, we've played one fewer game, so it's not quite like looking in the mirror, but we're both stuck on 43 points. They've scored 48. We've scored 44. They've allowed 30. We've allowed 29. We saw this going into the matchup against Carson, and we see it going into the matchup against Real Salt Lake. The only bummer of it all, like you and I have covered now several times, is that both clubs will not be at full strength. Our club hampered more on the defensive end. Their club certainly hampered more on the offensive end. And with
That's a stalemate to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's get into our players to watch, because I have a feeling I know yours from Salt Lake because duh. But I chose Anderson Julio from Real Salt Lake, a player that we know very, very, very well. To me, Anderson Julio is like that running back in fantasy football that, like, after week 11, you're scouring the waiver wire and you're like, who's going to be the guy that'll score me a touchdown? Maybe he won't get 18 to 20 carries, but maybe he'll be a guy towards the end of the game when everybody else is tired, hurt, when they're missing a couple of players already on the season. This might be a guy to get me a goal line carry for a score. Well, that's absolutely who Anderson Julio is for Real Salt Lake. He has only played 820 minutes or so on the season. He comes in off the bench far more than he starts, 15 times coming in as a substitute this season. and he has 6 goals on the year. And with them missing Chicho Arango and Andres Gomez, he is going to be one of the focal points for Real Salt Lake to try and get on the board and get their offense going. Anderson Julio, 6 goals, 820 minutes or so. That's my player to watch for Real Salt Lake. And I can't not love Kai Kamara. I think we are going to see Kai Kamara be successful on a set piece for sure. I think this is going to be a match where we are able to right the ship and kind of, I'll talk about it a little bit more in my keys to the match, but I think one of the keys to that is going to be Kai Kamara and his acumen on both sides of the pitch, because without having a player like Jesus Murillo, it's very likely that we are going to see a lot of Aaron Long, Maxime Chanot, and maybe Eddie Segura there on the back line. We need an aerial threat to help kill set pieces and corners in our defensive box, and I think that's going to be Kai Kamara more than anybody else. So Anderson Julio, Kai Kamara.
All right, for me, it's Diego Luna and Timothy Tillman. I like Diego Luna. All the stuff that you hear about him, how he got a job at a coffee shop in order to work on his social skills. The kid's 20. A highly talented player who's done a lot of tremendous things. This season alone, he's got 5 goals and 12 assists. If you do the math on that, that makes him shy of 20 goal contributions, which would put him up there with Chicho, who's got 17 goals and 11 assists, and Andres Gomez, who's got 12 goals and 9 assists. Could be the first time ever in RSL history where they've had 3 players have that kind of a goal contribution. So he's just an outstanding young man, an outstanding young player. Recently, he was an MLS Player of the Week. He had a Goal of the Week. He had 3 assists against us in that snow game. He had a hat trick of assists also recently. He's done that twice. That's something that also hasn't happened very often in RSL history. And I think part of his play, in particular, heading into this part of the summer, he's going to be acting with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. And the reason being, he was snubbed from the U.S. men's national team for the Olympics. Here's a player that absolutely could have and should have been a player going into Paris. So that being said, he obviously picked up his game, and I think he's going to be playing with a lot of fire and intensity. And truthfully, with Gomez and Arango out, he is their next best weapon. Obviously, there's other players that could contribute, but all eyes are going to be on him. And then as far as LAFC is concerned, we look very disjointed, and we could really see how much Timothy Tillman was missed in the midfield in that awful, awful game against Columbus. He was sitting in the midfield. Problem was, it was right next to us in Founders Club where he could see the midfield, not dressed to be on the midfield. So he clearly is an important piece on this LAFC roster. I also wanted to give an honorable mention. Kike Oliveira is back, by the way. I know somebody asked that in the chat. Steve said in the press conference, he's back from Copa America, which, I mean, it was domestic, so it's not like it was that much of a travel. But he's good and ready to go, so keep that in mind. But players to watch, Diego Luna on RSL, Timothy Tillman on LAFC.
Yeah, you get an honorable mention. I'm going to give a quick honorable mention to Ryan Hollingshead and his photos in the new kit. I absolutely love that man. I loved Ryan Hollingshead before those photos in the new kit and the little video that he did with the mustache and it was Ryan Hollingshead. You, sir, are a national treasure. Thank you. Wait,
he wants
Brutus
to
and
love
Bluto?
You, sexy.
Wait, maybe I wasn't wrong. Roberto Hernandez is saying Brutus and Bluto were both in Popeye. Okay, cool.
I mean, I just remember Bluto because Bluto.
All right, well, I'm going to Google it afterwards.
That's the word Chicho used doesn't rhyme with Brutus.
That's true. There is that. Yeah, Rob, definitely a 70s porn stash going on with my man Ryan Hollingshead on there. But he's had the stash. It's just with the whole getup and everything, it looked great. No, Mamadou Fall is gone. He's with Barcelona.
Sold to Barca for $2.2 million. Mamadou Fall will not be back on LAFC.
No, Mamadou Fall is gone. All right. Keys to the match. I got 2 for you. First is to capitalize on the opportunity, you guys. RSL is without their 2 best offensive players. RSL may even be without Justin Glad. Rumors are they've shut him down until after the All-Star break, that he will not be playing in this match. Justin Glad is an excellent player for RSL. Chicho and Andres Gomez are their 2 best offensive players, period. This is an opportunity that we don't get very often. If a club is going to show up into your building without their best 11, you must capitalize on that opportunity. I don't care that Sergi's gone. I don't care that Murillo's gone. All I care about is that the club that we're going to be playing against, they're going to be giving some guys some opportunities up top that don't normally get it, so they're going to look to make the most of it. But if you're asking me, would I rather face RSL with or without Chicho Arango, Andres Gomez, and Justin Glad? I mean, if I have my choice, sure, sit them out. And they're out for injury purposes and suspension purposes. So unfortunately for them, we need to capitalize on the opportunity. Second, look, it's time to exercise those demons. Last match was awful. Awful. The worst loss in home history. Only the second time that we've ever given up 4 goals or more at home. We did it once to Sporting. And oh my goodness, it is time for us to exercise those demons. We have to play at our best, play out on the front foot. We got attacked. We looked scared. We looked humbled against Columbus. It is time for us to get our groove back. We might as well call ourselves Stella because it's time that we do. So that being said, we need to exercise the demons while capitalizing on the opportunity. We're taking this one.
Catching up with messages in the chat, something I don't normally do. All righty, let's move on. Your keys to the game: capitalize on the opportunity and exercise the demons. Mine are just simply to batten down the hatches. We didn't look very good defensively the other day against Columbus. And with Sergi Palencia and Jesus David Murillo out, that does cause a problem. But keep in mind, we do have some depth back there. Aaron Long was said to be good to go, as per Steve during the press conference earlier today. And Omar Campos is there. He's ready to go. And from what we've been told, has been playing and participating and contributing very well in practice. So those players are going to have to, along with Ryan Hollingshead, are going to have to batten down the hatches and do what they can to prevent RSL from threading through. Now, the good news is their two of their biggest weapons will not feature in the game tomorrow. We've already discussed that. No Gomez, no Chicho. So that means there's I don't want to say far less talent, but less firepower to worry about. So if we could batten down the hatches and prevent players like Diego Luna from threading in between and finding those cool, crisp passes to a sprinting forward, I think we're going to be okay. If you go back to the videotape of LAFC's defensive performances, there were some lapses of judgment. I mean, you had that one goal that was scored shortly after Sergi Palencia was given the red card. Moments of mishap, but moments that if they managed to watch tape, which I'm sure and I know that they did, some mistakes that can be rectified relatively easy. And all you got to do is just continue to play your game, batten down the hatches.
I like it. I like it. Shall we get into our score predictions? There we go.
I was just waiting for you to say something.
Oh, there's my score prediction. 2-1. Look, I do think being without Murillo and Sergi Palencia stretches our defensive depth a little bit. Although I think getting Timothy Tillman back actually improves our defensive depth quite a bit. I don't think we lose anything personally. I don't think we lose anything by going from Murillo on the back line to Aaron Long and Maxime Chanot on the back line. But that being said, I think what we could be hurt a little bit. I'm worried for one reason, Philly. Last time Omar Campos saw a Real Salt Lake jersey, it was awful. It was terrible for Omar Campos. Now, some of that might have been the snow. Some of that might have been getting used to Major League Soccer. I don't know. I don't want to make any excuses for Omar Campos because I don't think Omar Campos would make excuses for himself. But that being said, last time he saw ghosts, he heard voices, okay? And I'm a little worried, but those guys that scored goals aren't going to be on the pitch, so I'm not as worried. So we get Timothy Tillman back, we get Kike Oliveira back. That will hopefully allow us to possess the ball a little bit more, which will mean our defense needs to do a little bit less, with a little bit less, without the 2 guys that are suspended. So 2-1 LAFC. I do think your boy, Diego Luna, does something in the match to get another goal contribution. He's excellent. He is so much fun to watch, and a bummer that he's not going to Paris for the U.S. team. But that being said, I've got 2-1.
Well, we don't necessarily disagree often, which we kind of do, but in this case, I'm going to agree with you. I don't think, even despite having a lot of their firepower off, that they're not going to score. This is a really good team on the road, as we've alluded to, only losing twice. RSL is legit. I mean, historically, we've had the better hand on them, but they've beaten us in our last two competitions. The game back early in RSL in Sandy, the snow game, and then on the road again, where we lost, where it was a 1-0 RSL winning. So they've been playing very well, an exciting brand of football. Pablo Mastroeni should be given the key to the city and at least not have to buy himself lunch ever, because this is the best RSL team we've seen in a significant period of time. But that being said, it's tough to play in BMO, and LAFC does have something to atone to, which is the worst home performance in club history. So with that being said, a hungry, wanting to get redemption sort of an LAFC team. And the same can be said about RSL. They want to seek redemption too after getting their butts kicked. But I just don't think it's going to be possible for them to walk into BMO Stadium and do this, especially with LAFC being as angry as they were after the game against Columbus. A mulligan is something you forget about quickly and move on, which is what they did. But a true championship team and a contender is really depicted on how they respond in the face of adversity. And after losing a horrible game at home in front of the 3252 and all the other 18,000 screaming people at BMO, LAFC's got some work to do, and I think they're going to be successful 2-1.
Yeah, I think what we're also going to see, Philly, towards the end of this match is some roster management by both sides. RSL plays Colorado in 3 days. We head to Seattle in 3 days. So we've both got difficult matches coming up. And obviously we know that RSL is going to be without Chicho for that Colorado match, likely without Justin Glad. We will get everybody back. So it looks like we'll be okay. And as long as everybody stays healthy in this match, then we'll have everybody for a very good Seattle team. We all know how well Seattle plays at Lumen, which is where we're going. And we don't play well in those big stadiums at all. We do not play well at Lumen for sure. So I think you're going to see both clubs too. If you see it 2-0, or if a club takes a 2-goal lead for whatever reason, I think you might see the other side throw in the towel or raise the white flag, just because in 72 hours, both of these clubs have to get ready for another match. So it'll be interesting to see how much we give Kai Kamara, how much we play Kike Oliveira, where Matty Bogusz slots in, how many minutes he gets in this match. And I don't know, Philly, if we have any players with no Carlos Vela and no Giorgio Chiellini, any players that might have an issue with playing on turf going into that next match. I don't think we do. It's an interesting situation that we haven't seen over the first 6 years of our club. We don't have to worry about guys who don't really play well on turf. So we'll see what happens with that. But I think, Philly, it could be either a very exciting end or a very boring end of this match, as you see two teams maybe playing out the string for the final 20 minutes, just trying to get home and not hurt.
The true losers, in my opinion, are us, the fans. And what I mean by that is you have two very big, strong powerhouse teams competing against one another for supremacy within the Western Conference, both being handicapped without two of their better players, without starters. It's unfortunate that we don't have Murillo and Palencia. It sucks that they don't have Andres and Chicho. It really would be a much more exciting game for everybody, all parties included, neutrals and supporters of each team, if everybody was there, because one can still fall back on the argument, well, we didn't have we didn't give you our best. We didn't have a full roster. And it's going to be said regardless of who wins and who loses. That's going to be something that teams are going to hang on. And that's the part that sucks, considering how exciting this series has become in recent history. So I do feel like we all miss out on it. Despite that, we do have, I would say, better replacements for our defenders than they have for their scores. There's not many people in the league that can do what Chicho and Andres can do. But I do firmly believe that at the very least for a game, we can't have Aaron Long and Omar Campos do what Sergi Palencia and Jesus David Murillo does, which is why I think that gives us the edge.
And we get to see our boys in these sweet new third kits. Philly, I can't wait. It's MLS After Dark on a Wednesday. RSL, LAFC, third kits. I'm so excited to see what it looks like in person. Look, I've been told they're slim fit. and they run a little slimmer around the middle because of that Los Angeles. But you know what? I've been dieting. I've really been, I've been trying to do a little bit over these last couple days. Can't wait to see. And then Philly, Ruben, are you in my head? Get out of my head, Ruben. The day after we get 3 points against RSL, it becomes official. Olivier Giroud will be a member of the Black and Gold. Philly will be sleeping on the couch for the next 3 months. It'll be a whole thing. I can't wait to see the third kid.
Panda is in the other room as we speak, practicing her French. And I'm reminding myself it's because we're going to France in a couple of weeks. Not because Olivier is coming to LA.
I do want to let the listeners know he's not lying. She's actually practicing her French.
Yeah, it's wild. I've never seen her. I don't know. It makes me kind of sweat a little. I've never seen her so motivated about doing anything that wasn't in regards to her profession or anything else. Obviously, she does her work when it comes to all her broadcast and media stuff. But like at a tailgate, she wanted to step away from it so she could practice French. A little dumbfounded, but it's because we're going to France.
That's exactly what it is. That's all it is.
I just think she heard me. The cat is
not
out of the bag. And speaking of which, the cat's got a new litter robot today. It's hilarious the way they're looking at it, by the way. Huff thinks it's like this giant, crazy-looking egg.
Have you ever started an Instagram for those three yet, by the way?
I need to. I had one for Schmitty.
Yeah.
I just haven't. I haven't created one for the Gremlins. I mean, I think we could create an account that would be even bigger than Defenders and everything you have. I did some math. And I don't know if I've incorporated your numbers in, but between like Striking Fury, me, and what you have on Facebook, we're pretty darn close to 20,000 followers across everything. So that's not too bad, but I think that will pale in comparison to anything if we create for the Gremlins. Because as we know, the lion is the king of the jungle, but the cat is the king of the internet.
No, I think it would be great. I think you need to start the Gremlins of LAFC. That's the name for it right there. Like, it would be incredible. Either way, Sal, you can stay out of this conversation there for that last bit of chat. But that being said, you guys, I've got 2-1. Philly's got 2-1. It's never good when we agree. So we'll see. But you know what? It's going to be fun. We've got the third kit. And, there's Kitty.
Hello, Mr. Scarf. And thank you for remembering me, Sal Mercado Jr. Hello Kitty is back. No, Ted Lasso, you are not as cool as Hello Kitty. I am older. I am a pop culture icon. You are a flash in the pan. Goldfish, I will be timeless. There'll be nobody going crazy over you, Mr. Ted Lasso, at stadiums. Dodger Stadium is selling a Hello Kitty plan. Tickets. LAFC did the same. I have yet to see a Ted Lasso.
Shoot me. All right. You guys know it. 2-1, both sides. Let us know what you think. I don't have a Ted Lasso voice. That's pretty funny. No, I don't have a Ted Lasso voice, but we do have cool outro music, right?
If I could find it.
Oh boy.